Today I'll be speaking about education to involved communities, and my presentation will talk about the importance of education and the reasons why one has to really engage with communities at ground level and also other peers within your own discipline and other disciplines as well. So I'll first start off by just defining what education is, and I will quote the Oxford Dictionary there that says it is a process of teaching, training, and learning, especially in schools, colleges, or universities to improve knowledge and develop skills. But then I just want to expand a bit on this definition and say that education can transcend outside of the formal classroom, and we should always take the opportunity to share knowledge and skills in all the spaces that we occupy so that we improve society. Now, as researchers, we often find that our results have an impact either on the environment, animals, plants, and the health of people in communities. So, for example, we as zoonotic researchers or bird ecology researchers, there's Lo and Matthew there doing bird tracking. Research like this has implications for not only the birds, but the environment as well, and communities that are sharing spaces with these birds. And also the virological research that has been spoken intensively about today and yesterday in the workshop has implications for people as well and other wildlife in environments. So now, in research, we normally report our findings in scientific journals to make our results available to the public. But then that is often not so easy to read for people outside of your discipline because the jargon is just not easy to understand. To your peers, it might be, but then to other people outside of your discipline, even the people most importantly in the street, like people on the ground, it becomes quite difficult to consume that information. So it therefore becomes important to disseminate this information and engage communities really. And by community engagement here, I mean different sectors of the community. So to your peers, the most popular method that researchers would use is to go to conference presentations, and then you tick it off and you're done. That's your duty, that's your responsibility, and then you're finished. But then as people that now follow the transdisciplinary One Health approach, we now have a responsibility to also engage communities at ground level. So the other methods of communication now become important. That is public presentations, the development and distribution of educational material, and also engaging communities through the various media, be it your digital media or your print media as well. Now, starting off with the public presentations. And now this is sharing knowledge at community level, at ground level, and having discussions about important topics with people. So I'll make an example with our zoonotic surveillance research and bird research. Introducing concepts about birds, firstly, it's quite difficult because people don't really know much about birds except the really bad things that, based on the myths surrounding birds, that birds are there to bewitch you, birds are there to, eat your hair. It's things like that that you have to really have conversations with people about and understand where they are coming from and understand their perspective. So the language that you use as well really becomes important. And by language, I mean the terminologies that you use. I'll make an example about something like echolocation. How do you then introduce the concept of echolocation to someone on the street, someone who's never known, who's hearing the term for the first time? How do you introduce such a term? So what I like to do in my engagements with the schools is I would play the sound, that's the sound clip that starts from 1 hertz and then ends off at 20,000 kilohertz, which is 20,000 hertz, which is 20 kilohertz. So as the pitch goes up from 1 all the way to 20,000, you start hearing less and less of the sound, but then the pitch is getting higher. But then I usually stop it when people get really annoyed with the high-pitched sound. But what that shows you, it's just a practical way of introducing how sound works. And then from there, I do an activity where people actually get up and I blindfold some of them and get them to really see life from a bird's perspective. And that's how I would introduce a topic like echolocation to people that really don't know anything about the topic. And things like that, or activities like that, spark interest in people, and people start asking questions about this echolocation and how it works, and then that's when I can go further into the topic. So we've engaged a lot of schools around the country to promote awareness and understanding about bat ecology, so the importance of bats to us as people, the role that bats play in, Mariette spoke about it earlier on, suppressing insects, the fruit bats with dispersing seeds, that is important for agriculture as well. But we will also focus on the zoonotic risk associated with bats. And that is not to the approach that you use, in that you don't paint a bad picture on the bats, because just like any other living being, just like any other organism that shares living spaces with microbes, you do get those microbes, and it's not really, as a human being, it's not really your fault that you contracted this microbe. So the same thing applies for the bats. It's not really its fault that it has a virus in its body. But then the fantastic thing about bats is that they've adapted to living with these viruses for a very long time. But then we as human beings haven't really adapted to it. So that's why it becomes problematic now when we interact and contract some of those viruses. So it becomes really important to now teach people how to have safe interactions with bats, because these bats are sharing spaces with people in some of the communities that we work in. Even in the urban communities, bats are living in roofs. Lo spoke about it earlier on. Bats are living in people's roofs. So it becomes important for people to know how to safely interact with bats. Now, I will go on now to the development of educational material. Now, we've been so lucky with our collaboration with EcoHealth. We got this fantastic book here called Living Safely with Bats, which is really a fantastic tool to teach people about having safe interactions with bats. So what this book does is that when you teach someone about living safely with bats, they can actually take the book and teach others as well. So mimic the very presentation you're giving them about when you are eating, for example, and you're sitting outside. Cover your food, rather. When you have a drum in the rural areas there where you collect water, cover that drum so that bats don't urinate into the drum. So people actually take that information and the book and will be able to amplify it further outside. And we've actually adapted that spoke into a poster that we give out to schools as well. Now, this point here, the translation of material into other languages. It's a very important point, especially in areas where you find that people understand only their home language, really. It's not like they don't know how to speak English, they do, but then they understand concepts better when it's in their home language. And I'll make an example of a colleague of ours from the veterinary tropical disease department here at University of Pretoria, in a project that they were doing in abattoirs, where they were telling people about anthrax, and people didn't really know what anthrax is or the existence of it. But then as soon as they translated the material and told it to them in their home language, then all of a sudden they knew all about it. And they've known so much about it, they've been knowing about it, but then they didn't know the transmission, how it gets transmitted from animals to people. So translation of material is quite important as well in the local context. Now, this is some of that material that we've got through our collaboration with the veterinary tropical disease, and it speaks to the other diseases as well that you find in livestock, your anthrax, bovine tuberculosis, brucellosis. So those are the many diseases. We're still finding outbreaks of them, and people really need to get educated about how transmission works and how to protect themselves and also animals as well. And the other mode of communication is through media. So we do have websites where we put our material here. The One Health for Change website, the Center for Viral Zoonosis also has a website, and that really gives us a platform to write or to communicate information to the public out there. And then because it's on the internet, it spreads to even more people, and it sparks interest, it sparks the right conversations in the public. So another great platform there to use is the conversation, where our researchers have contributed to, Prof Markotter has contributed to it, and our postdocs as well have done so. And what it does is, because so many people read that publication, and it's written in a language that is easy to understand to the public. You don't use your science jargon there when you write in that publication. So people relate more to what you're saying, and you then attract attention from your digital media, and we've done so in the center. So national radio and also television, where we've really created awareness about the work that we do, and the things that, well, we ought to say to the public that the public should know about in terms of our research. And Sabrinet as well will be having its own website, where information will be disseminated on the website, and some of the research, the scientific research aspect, will be communicated as well on the website. And this last slide here, really, it's about something that we have noticed, and it's there as well in publication, and that is the literacy that we find in our schools here in the country. And it is something that it's happening all over Africa, and that is the lack of STEM knowledge in schools. And STEM, for those of you that don't know, is the collective term for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These subjects are quite important, and going into the future, Africa will need them for its development. So at the moment, the latest stats here in South Africa are that for people or for learners that are coming out of high school, going into a science subject, the turnover or the number of learners that end up graduating in that degree is about 20% out of the initial number that went into the degree. So that is quite low, and that is not going to benefit the country going forward, especially going into the fourth industrial revolution as well. So we are trying to bridge this gap in STEM education, and we'll be starting a program called Youth in STEM, where we'll really be engaging this issue at high school level to promote STEM literacy with high school students and learners, and also encourage youth to join the sciences. So we'll be taking young people, and they will be engaging with people that are already working in STEM careers to encourage them to really join the STEM fields. And there will be a course in robotics, and this will really encourage or promote critical thinking, problem solving, and STEM education in young people. And hopefully going forward, this will translate into them joining the STEM field at tertiary level in their studies, and we'll have more scientists in the future. And yeah, in closing, I'll just like to repeat my message that it is always important for us to use every opportunity we can to share knowledge and skills, and that will go towards the betterment of society. Thank you.